You weren't born to be silent. You were born to shake the ground when you speak. There's a fire in you, not the kind they applaud, but the kind they fear. The kind you were told to dim, to shrink, to tuck away so you wouldn't make the world uncomfortable. But let me tell you something, that fire, that strength, that voice, it's not a flaw. It's your crown. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering the woman you were before the world told you to be small. The one who didn't apologize for her power. The one who walked like a storm and spoke like thunder. So if you've been playing it safe, if you've been waiting for permission to take up space, this is your sign to rise. It's time to take back your throne. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Right now, because the queen in you, she's not gone. She's just been waiting for you to return. See, I've learned something crazy over the years. The world doesn't hold you back nearly as much as you do. We think it's the boss, the system, the past, the pain. But it's really that little voice inside telling you that you're not ready, not good enough, not deserving. And the worst part, we believe it. We feed it. Every time you doubt yourself, you're handing your power over like a gift you didn't track and weren't planning to give. But let me tell you, confidence isn't magic. It's not something you're born with. It's not locked inside a box with your name on it. Confidence is built like muscle. And like muscle, you don't grow it by being comfortable. You grow it by pushing through resistance. Every time you stand up for yourself, every time you speak truth instead of hiding behind fear, every time you choose courage over comfort, that's a rep. That's growth. That's how you build self-confidence as a woman in a world that's constantly trying to dim your light. I remember back when I first started acting. Man, I was terrified. You think I was all smooth and cool? Please. I was panicked. I wasn't trained. I didn't have the fancy credentials. But what I did have, what I clung to, was this crazy belief that I could figure it out, that I could learn, that I was willing to work harder than the next guy. And that belief, it started something, it lit a fuse. And that's what I want for you. I want you to unleash your inner power, that quiet fire you've been sitting on, that voice that whispers, you're more than this. You've been listening to the world for too long. It's time to start listening to you. Now look, I'm not saying this journey is easy. Building confidence is like standing in front of a mirror and seeing both your strength and your insecurities and choosing to love both. It's knowing you've been bruised by life, but stepping forward anyway. That's real strength. That's where transformation begins. And I promise you, in this video, I'm going to walk you through the real mechanics of how to go from self-doubt to self-doubt to self-belief, from shrinking to shining. Not some vague, just love yourself pep talk. Now we're talking tools, mindsets, real shifts. Stick with me because the next few minutes might be the most important thing you hear all year. And let's be honest, sometimes it's not about adding something to your life. It's about removing what's been blocking your view of yourself. You don't have to chase confidence like it's hiding out in someone else's validation. You build it, you live, and then you own it. Let's go. You know what's wild? Most people think confidence comes from success. Like, once I achieve this, then I'll feel confident. But I've lived long enough to tell you that's backwards. Success doesn't create confidence. Confidence creates success. It's a loop, a mindset, a belief system. You've got to start seeing yourself as someone who can win before you actually win. That's what I had to learn early. When I first got into music, I wasn't the most talented, not even close. But what I did have was a vision for who I could become. I saw that version of me so clearly that it pulled me through rejection, failure, late nights, self-doubt, all of it. That's the kind of belief I'm talking about. Self-belief isn't ego. It's not arrogance. It's knowing your value when no one else sees it yet. It's standing in rooms where nobody claps for you and still walking like the floor was built for your feet. But listen, I get it. Maybe you've been overlooked, underestimated. Maybe you've been told you're too much or not enough. And over time, that message seeps in. It gets under your skin, into your bones. And suddenly, you're living a story someone else wrote for you. But here's the truth. You have the pen now. You write now. You can rewrite that story. And it starts by breaking one of the biggest lies ever sold to women, that your confidence has to be quiet, polite, safe. Nah, the power of feminine confidence is electric. It's that quiet fire in your eyes when you walk into a room already knowing you belong. It's that calm voice that says, I don't need to prove anything, I am the proof. That's not attitude. That's alignment. That's what happens when you start choosing yourself. And don't get it twisted, confidence doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you move anyway. You raise your hand. You speak up. You show up when everything in you wants to shrink back. Think about some of the people who've inspired you, not the famous ones, but the ones who made you feel something real. Maybe it's your aunt who held the family together through chaos. Maybe it's that friend who started her business from scratch, even when everyone doubted her. That woman who walked away from a relationship that was draining the life out of her, not knowing what was next, just knowing she deserved better. What do they all have in common? They chose self-belief over comfort. They didn't wait for someone to give them permission. They gave it to themselves. That's what this journey is about. Not waiting, not hoping, building brick by brick, moment by moment. And I'll be real with you, sometimes you won't even notice the transformation happening. You'll just look up one day and realize you're not shrinking anymore. You're not over-apologizing. You're not seeking approval from people who don't even see you. That's how confidence sneaks up on you. Quietly, powerfully. Now, I want you to try something with me, just for a second. Close your eyes unless you're driving. Don't do that, but close your eyes and picture the woman you want to become. See her. Feel her presence. How does she walk? How does she speak? What does her energy say before she even opens her mouth? That woman is already inside you. She's not a future version. She's a buried version. And starting today, we're digging her out. This is your confidence transformation journey. This is where self-doubt ends and power begins. Not because someone else ground you, but because you finally decided to stand tall and claim the space you've always deserved. Keep listening, because next, I'm going to break down exactly what makes some people radiate belief while others stay stuck in insecurity. And once you see the pattern, you won't be able to unsee it. That's where things start to shift. All right, so now that we've cracked the surface, let's go deeper. Let's talk about what I call the confidence scope, because there is a code or rhythm to people who walk like they know who they are. They're not faking it. They're not pretending. They're just connected. But how do you get there? Here's the truth most people miss. Confidence isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you've always been. It's not about adding to yourself. It's about peeling back the layers of fear, judgment, comparison, all that noise that's been placed on you since the world told you who to be. And that stuff starts early. Maybe someone made fun of your voice. Maybe you were told to be quiet, or that ambition was too much for a girl. Over time, that messaging builds walls inside you. And now, every time you try to step forward, there's this internal traffic light blinking red. But listen, those walls weren't built by truth. They were built by survival. And now, you're not surviving anymore. You're ready to live. See, part of unleashing your inner power is retraining your self-talk. Because the things you say to yourself when no one's listening, they shape you more than you realize. I'll be honest, I used to tear myself apart in silence. Every mistake felt like proof I wasn't enough. I'd smile on the outside, but inside I was picking myself apart. And I had to stop and ask, why am I talking to myself like an enemy? You want a real shift? Start talking to yourself like you would talk to someone you love. Seriously, would you look your daughter in the eye and say she's not good enough, that she's falling behind, that she should just give up? Nope. Then why are you doing it to yourself? That inner voice sets the ceiling for your confidence. If it's full of shame, comparison, judgment, you'll never feel free. But if it's full of kindness, clarity, and truth, suddenly you start rising. Naturally, effortlessly. And while we're on it, let's kill this myth that confidence is loud. Confidence isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's being anchored in who you are even when you're silent. It's that unshakable presence, that energy that says, I don't need to convince anyone I already know. Let me give you a real-world example. There was this woman I met on set once. She wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. But the moment she walked in, the entire room shifted. Not because of what she said, but because of how she carried herself. You could feel it, that grounded self-belief, that quiet confidence that didn't need to beg for attention. And I remember thinking, that's it. That's the kind of energy that moves people. That's the power of feminine confidence. It's not about domination. It's about alignment. When your thoughts, words, and actions all reflect your worth, that's magnetic. That's powerful. And let's not ignore the traps that block your power. Comparison is one. You can't scroll 5 seconds on social media without seeing someone who seems to have it all. Perfect body, perfect life, perfect smile. But what you don't see is the backstage. The struggle, the doubts, the filters, literal and emotional. You are comparing your behind the scenes to someone's highlight reel, and it's killing your confidence. So here's what I want you to do. Trade comparison for curiosity. Instead of why don't I have that? Ask, what part of that do I genuinely want, and how do I build it? That puts you back in the driver's seat. That puts your power back in your hands. And another block, perfection. That one's a killer. You think if you just get it all right and you'll feel worthy. But confidence isn't born in perfection. It's born in resilience. It's what happens when you fall flat and get back up anyway. When you stutter, but keep talking. When you show up messy, but still show up. That's where your self-belief gets forged, in those raw and filtered moments. And if you're still with me, that means something inside you is shifting. You're starting to feel it, that voice that says, maybe I've been underestimating myself. Good. That's the beginning of something real. Because let me tell you this, you don't need anyone else to validate your worth. You don't need the perfect past. You don't need more likes, more degrees, more approval. You just need to decide right now to start showing up like the woman you were always meant to be. And in the next part, I'm going to walk you through the habits and practices that make confidence stick. Not just a mood, not just a good hair day, but a way of life. All right, let's get into it now, because it's one thing to feel inspired. But if you want a real confidence transformation journey, you got to make it practical. You can't just wish for self-belief. You've got to build it with your own 2 hands. Every single day. That's what separates people who talk about growth from people who live it. So let's talk habits. Let's talk about what people who radiate confidence actually do. You ready? Number 1, they keep promises to themselves. Look, I don't care how small the promise is. You say you're gonna wake up early, do it. You say you're gonna drink more water, do it. You say you're finally gonna stop texting that one toxic person, really do it. Because every time you follow through, you're telling your brain, hey, I'm someone I can count on. Most people break promises to themselves over and over. And what happens? They slowly erode their self-trust. And without trust, confidence dies. You wouldn't trust a friend who bailed on you every time. So how can you expect to trust yourself if you're always abandoning your own boundaries and goals? Number 2, confident people act before they feel ready. Oh man, this one hits deep. You think there's going to be this magical moment where you feel 100 ready, fearless, glowing with certainty. And now that moment doesn't come. And if you wait for it, you'll be waiting your whole life. The truth is, the moment you take action, that's when confidence kicks in. That's when your brain starts to say, oh, okay, maybe we can do this. Action creates belief, not the other way around. And especially for women, society has trained you to be overly prepared, overly perfect before you even open your mouth. Forget that your voice matters, even if it shakes, even if it's not perfect, especially then. Number 3, confident people own their flaws. I used to be scared of people seeing my weaknesses. I'd hide them, cover them up, pretend they didn't exist. But you know what I've learned? When you try to hide your flaws, you give them power. But when you own them, they lose control over you. That little gap in your teeth, own it. That failure from last year, talk about it. That part of your journey that still hurts, use it because it makes you real. It makes you relatable. And authenticity is confidence's best friend. You ever meet someone who's not the most polished, but they're just so comfortable in their skin? That's because they stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to be whole. Number 4, they protect their energy like it's sacred. Because it is. Confidence doesn't survive in toxic soil. So if you're constantly around people who drain you, doubt you, or make you second guess yourself, you're gonna have a hard time growing. Let me be clear, not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your time, your vulnerability, your spirit. Sometimes the most confident thing you can do is say, no, this environment doesn't serve who I'm becoming. And look, I get it, that's not always easy, especially if the people bringing you down are close. Family, longtime friends. But at some point, you've got to choose. Do I want to stay loyal to who I was? Or do I want to honor on it coming? Number 5, they speak life into themselves. I mean daily. Not once a month, not when everything's going great, every single day, even on the days when they feel like garbage. Look, I talk to myself all the time. I hype myself up. I remind myself of what I've overcome. I tell myself, you've done harder things than this. You've been through worse, and you made it, because that's not just positive talk, that's true talk. And that's what keeps you grounded. Don't wait for the world to clap for you. Be your own damn cheerleader. Because the louder your inner voice of belief becomes, the quieter the world's noise will sound. Now, I want to address something important here, especially for women. The journey to build self-confidence for women is not linear. You will have days where you doubt everything. You will question your worth, your power, your purpose. And that doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're growing. Healing is messy. Transformation is not a straight line. But every step, every stumble, every comeback, it all counts. And don't you dare minimize your progress. Confidence isn't about where you are, it's about how far you've come from where you started. Maybe you used to shrink in conversations, and now you speak up a little more. That's growth. Maybe you used to people please like it was your full-time job, and now you started setting boundaries. That's power. Maybe you've just started to even think about believing in yourself. That's the spark. That's how the fire starts. And in the next part, I'm bringing it all home. We're going to talk about what it looks like when you live your life from this new place of self-belief. Not just for a week, not just until things get hard, but as a lifestyle, as a legacy. Now let's imagine something for a second. You wake up tomorrow And every ounce of doubt, every drop of insecurity, every thought that made you feel like you weren't enough is gone. What would you do? What would you start doing? Who would you stop waiting for? What dream would you finally say yes to? I ask you that because that version of you, she's already inside. You don't have to invent her. You have to unleash her. She's been buried under years of fear, criticism, expectation, but she's there. And every decision you make in her direction brings her closer to the surface. That's the power of self-belief. It doesn't scream. It doesn't rush. It bucks boldly. It breathes calmly. It chooses itself over and over again. But I get it. You might be thinking, how do I sustain this? How do I not slip back into old pattern? Let me tell you, you will slip sometime. But slipping isn't the problem. Staying down is. So here's the deal. You gotta make your self-belief a discipline. Not just a feeling you chase on good days, but a practice, a lifestyle. Like brushing your teeth, like stretching in the morning, like prayer. Every single day you show up and remind yourself, I am enough. I am growing. I am rising. Here's what helps. Start designing your life around your power, not your fear. That means your morning routine. Make it sacred. Make it yours. Start your day feeding your mind something good. Listen to something uplifting. Read something that expands you. Talk to yourself like you matter, because you do. Then in your relationship, stop shrinking. Stop apologizing for existing. You weren't born to be digestible. You were born to be whole. And not everyone will be ready for that version of you, but that's not your burden to carry. Your job is not to make others comfortable with your power. Your job is to own it anyway. And yes, it might cost you some things. Some people might pull away. Some habits might fall off. Some roles you used to play might not fit anymore. But what you gain is you. Let's break that down. Confidence is not about becoming someone different. It's about removing everything that was never really you in the first place. All the masks, all the rules someone else wrote for your life. You were never meant to stay small just to be accepted. You were never meant to walk on eggshells just to be loved. You were meant to stand tall, to speak truth, to live wide open even when it's hard. Because here's the beautiful thing. When you unleash your inner power, you give others permission to do the same. You walk into a room confident, not arrogant, and suddenly other women breathe easier. You show up real flaws, scars, stretch marks, and suddenly authenticity becomes contagious. You live from a place of self-belief, and suddenly your entire energy starts to shift the people around you. And that's how you live. Not with perfection, but with presence. Look, there's a reason some people can walk into a room without saying a word and still change the whole atmosphere. It's because they built something solid on the inside, a quiet inner strength, a knowing, a confidence that isn't borrowed by or begged for. You can build that too, but you gotta want it more than you want comfort. You gotta want it more than you want people to like you. You gotta want it more than your fear wants to keep you safe. And I want you to know something if no one else told you this week. I believe in you. See you. And I know what you're capable of. You've been surviving. Now it's time to start thriving. Because when a woman taps into the power of feminine confidence, when she stops chasing validation and starts embodying truth, there's nothing more magnetic than that. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't compete, she creates. She doesn't perform, she becomes. So here's your moment, right now, to rise into the version of you that's been waiting, to say yes to the journey, to build self-confidence, not just for this season, but for life, to develop self-belief, not just when things are easy, but especially when they're not. You have everything it takes. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are right on time. Let the world meet the version of you who no longer asks for permission. And hey, if this resonated with you, if it stirred something deep, don't stop here. Keep feeding your soul. The next step in your journey is powerful and necessary. I want you to go watch our next video, Unlock the Power of Emotional Strength. Because inner power without emotional strength, that's like lightning with no direction. Go tap into the next level. And if you found value in this video, don't just walk away, subscribe and like, because this is just the beginning of the transformation. We're Wisdom Recorder, your knowledge source. Let's grow together.